scary for a minute.
Bing.
Yep, love it.
All right.
Jared.
Good show. Thank you.
Good job, Jared.
Cheryl Pilot.
Jared, that was your first full episode top to bottom, yes?
Okay.
Yeah, hit the button.
Yes, it was.
There you go.
He's like, oh, wait.
Oh my God, I need a cigarette.
I have to do things.
It's both easy and hard, this show. Like, it takes a couple times to get a feel of the flow, but once you get it, I think it's pretty okay. But
Yeah, that was news was like an absolute blitz, and I've never had to operate that fast except for when dealing with puppies, and then the rest of the show was rather smooth. So
Yep.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
News. It's funny. The show is in reverse order for complexity, right? So it's
Yes.
the hardest part of our entire show is the first 30 to 60 seconds. It's like I can't even begin to explain how technically complicated that part of the show is to execute correctly.
This is the complete opposite of spaceflight. Because spaceflight's hard everywhere.
Right. So first 60 seconds of the show, very complicated. The news segment, medium complicated, right? You got to pay attention and get the timing right and make sure the audio's. Then once you hit the interview, it's smooth sailing from there. I think, at least. So yeah, good job, Jared.
Yeah,
Great.
it's
Thanks.
the news segment is intellectually intense for the technical director.
Yeah.
Intellectually intense.
Yeah.
Like you got to pay attention.
You gotta pay
figure
attention,
out.
you gotta think, you have intense concentration for
God, I gotta listen to them talk.
Yeah.
Oh, it sucks.
you have no idea.
Yeah, well, right. No, and
There's
actually,
shiny buttons in front of me.
that is something that I've never.
I do, because I play
like listening
Capcom
to
most of the time.
That's something that I've never brought up, but I have noticed you've done from time to time. Is you'll be listening to the conversation, and you'll realize that they're talking about something, and go, "Oh, I think there's an image of that online." You'll go find the image, download it into the system, and if you've got it in enough time, you'll bring it up on the screen. I don't know if the internet realizes that a lot of that's not pre-staged. Sometimes it is, like the images for today's show were
Yeah,
pre-staged.
sometimes we don't always think we're going to be talking about giraffes,
Sure, right? Yeah.
right? Like, if
Or unicorns.
Or unicorn.
Right.
Well, I think it should always be
Always
assumed that
assume
unicorns and
unicorns.
glitter will come up on the show at this point.
Have it on
between
standby.
Lisa, Athena, and Jared, it's going to come up.
I was pulling the chairs over for the comment section, and I noticed that I think it's actually your chair. It might
one.
be my chair. Yeah, covered in glitter still.
Which I vacuumed this morning, by the way.
Yeah.
I
Still.
couch is
vacuumed
great.
the chair and I vacuumed the couch for the glitter,
Covered in
specifically today. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Really quickly, a couple of questions that we didn't get to during the interview that were asked, because I don't know if it's because I have too much knowledge with coffee that I was like, well, I mean, I already know the answer to that question.
Right.
And then I thought, well, I don't want to answer that question, but I also don't want to be like, so here's a question that I know the answer to. So I try to leave it out, but I don't want to sound insulting to anybody who asks the questions. There was a question about lighter roast having more caffeine than darker roast. And yeah, that's just caffeine is essentially just a chemical, right? So the longer you roast it, the more it breaks down, the less it exists, the less it presents. It's a natural thing that presents in the regular bean itself. And so yes, lighter roast then of course would have more caffeine than a darker roast, simply because of that.
Which is always funny to me, all to be like, I need a really dark cut.
That's
Like,
what-
okay, so you
yeah.
want the weakest coffee possible.
Right.
You want
Yep.
the least amount of caffeine.
I understand
that
the
you can
concept,
have.
You
though.
won't realize it if I say it in a manly voice.
Dark
roast, espresso.
That makes that
I like sludge.
inherently kind of it feels like it makes sense because of the darker roasting,
Yeah.
because it has a much bolder flavor.
Right.
You would think it has more caffeine, but
Nope.
caffeine doesn't get inserted via the roasting process. It's just not something that happens.
So if you want the real punch to the face, do you just eat the raw bean?
I mean, you can. I wouldn't. It's like any other sort of refined thing to a certain extent, right? Like you wouldn't really want to. Also, I would not suggest the coffee that's made from, I forget what animal it is, but we're just gonna go with
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
The mountain cat.
Yep, the scat coffee or
Yes,
whatever they call
Yeah.
it. I would not suggest that in any way, shape, or form. That so the animal eats the cherry is what that's called, and inside is the sort of seed or of the cherry, which would be the coffee bean. And so these animals eat that, they excrement it out nearly whole, and then so it can be harvested in that way. And it's not the kind of, it tastes kind of how you think it would taste. Sort of like shit coffee. And I wouldn't suggest it all the way around.
The civet is what eats
the civet. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, J-Quack.
Totally important.
I apologize, and I in order to kind of streamline my chat room, I sort of X'd out of all of the things of the extra questions that were asked that I didn't really get to. But yeah, and then you could always, I mean, if you really want to, as Wicked kind of suggested, how can you say something along the, he said something along the lines of like, how can you say this is the strongest coffee when you can just add a couple of caffeine pills and then it would basically do the same thing? Yes, effectively it would. If you want to do your French press with caffeinated water and the coffee, then yes, that's going to be stronger. But just much like there are different varieties of grapes that end up producing many varieties of wines, and then there's like different ways to harvest things. There's also there's these wines called ice wines where the grapes are harvested very specifically when they are frozen, and that also changes the flavor, and it changes the flavor enough. So there's a lot of different tweaking that you can do to all of your different coffees, starting with which kind of coffee bean in which region it was grown in will affect some of the flavor, even before you get to roasting, like just where it is grown, because of the dirt, because of the water, because of the sun, because of all of the things, is going to inherently change the flavor naturally before you even get into how much you roast it, how much you grind it, and which particular process you use to make the juice, if you will. Espresso really is just a way to make coffee. It isn't necessarily there is an espresso grind, there is an espresso roast, but those are far and away completely different things than the actual process of making the espresso, putting it through, as Dutta says, turns out flavor is chemistry and art. Yeah, absolutely. It's just a different way of doing it. Drip coffee is one way, French press is another way. There's all these different kinds of ways to make these coffees. And again, that's even before you even add like milk or sugar or anything else to it. You know, you want to talk about like lattes and cappuccinos and stuff, and I will really bore you to tears. But yeah, so if that, I don't even know where I started on that one. What authority certified Death Wishes coffee as world's strongest? I don't know. It's a really good question, Citizen 36788. I don't know offhand, although at the same time, I can't imagine that. I don't know if there's like a caffeine king that kind of goes around and tastes everything. And
Coffee czar.
Right? Like,
Caffeine king.
I think it's a little bit closer to being like, I don't know, some other fake label you can think of that normally goes on food.
Like all the roast beef shops that say, we're world famous.
Yeah, world famous thing. Like, yeah.
Home of the French dip.
Sure, I tell my friend he happens to be in China, that's world famous. Great. Like, one dude in China knows who I am.
So some people on YouTube were complaining during the interview, like, still coffee commercial. And I think they kind of missed the point, which is...
I apologize. I did want to like sort of lay the groundwork of like they know what they're talking about. Plus, now they're in space, which is so freaking awesome.
Right, and I think the point of a show like this is to understand that you need all of the things when you're going to space. So coffee is going to be one of those creature comforts that a lot of, whether you're a coffee drinker or not, a lot of people are, and they're going to want something like that on their 7+ month journey to Mars and their multi-year stay on Mars. Yeah. People will want things like coffee. They're going to want things, most likely, like meat, things that you don't think of, right? Like, have you considered that you're going to have to be vegetarian? Yeah, right?
He wants the meats.
Right. I mean, when you go to space, you're going, like, on these long journeys, there's a not zero chance you're going to have to become vegetarian. There's a not zero chance that you're going to have to give up coffee. And the less things that you need to give up, the more creature comforts or standard things that you're used to living with here on Earth that you can have on that journey to Mars and have on your journeys in the solar system. I think the more people we can get to go, oh, this makes sense, this would be cool, this is something I want to do, and the bigger and more awesome the entire industry as a whole will actually become. So these things are, in fact, in my opinion, important.
Well, I feel like it would almost go completely crazy if you were just all of a sudden thrown into that world that is completely different than what you're used to.
Right,
And you want
right,
to have
right.
that little, as Ben has said, comforts of home.
Absolutely.
Right.
No
to be
TV.
able to just kind of ease the difference in. So
Absolutely,
That you're not
yeah.
just all of a sudden body shocked. I don't have any of the things that I thought I had.
Right.
She's
No
not
TV
Mike.
and no
She's not
beer.
Mike, so someone should repeat the general.
So, wait.
Sorry.
The general idea
Yeah.
was you're going to want creature comforts.
Yeah, creature comforts. Because it's a shock to the system. If you
Sure.
have to just give that stuff up, you're gonna be.
I mean, just
You
try
know,
it down
here's
here on
Johnny.
Earth for a hot minute, and look how quickly you get
Oh my
uncomfortable.
God, I can't. I'm so addicted to caffeine that when I don't have caffeine in the morning,
Well, it's-
massive headaches.
Even
Oh,
as somebody
geez.
says in
yeah.
the chat
And-
room, like satin sheets, like yeah, absolutely. Like if those are the things that you like and those are your favorite things, just stop using all of your favorite things
Yeah,
for
right.
like a week, and look how quickly you become very
Right?
uncomfortable.
The answer to the question of what would you take with you to the desert island? Just
What, Mike?
What?
You mumbled a whole lot of things.
Is that where Princess Ben Credible came from? You didn't have coffee that day?
Yes, exactly.
No, he didn't have his satin sheets.
Oh
Jared's
wow.
Bye, Jared.
Bye, Jared.
Thank you,
Have
Jared.
fun.
Good
Please
job,
don't die.
Jared.
Just imagine you and your 6 favorite people and all of the creature comforts and things that they need and love on a daily basis in order to be able to be human. And then deprive all of them of all of that and stick them in a tuna can floating to Mars for 9 months.
So if you're not a coffee fan, then you can still take the concept of the show, which is companies sending coffee to space, working with NASA to try to figure out how to bring these creature comforts up. Insert your own creature comfort and go, okay, and this is another one of those, all right, how do I turn this into actions thing where you're like, all right, this is something, maybe it's not coffee, I'm interested in, X, Y, or Z. Maybe start working on that and figuring out how to get that in space, because space is going to need all of the things. Space plumbers, space janitors, space baristas, space hotels, all of it, right? If we want to actually live and work in space, we need all of the things.
Yep.
End rant.
Yep. I very
wondering
stupidly
which,
did not bring in. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I'm wondering which of the Mars missions in the far future with BFR and BFS will be the smoking mission. Either that or just nicotine patches.
Right?
Yeah, smoking. So
Says the
smoking's going to be
smoker.
a hard
I was
one.
like, what?
I'm just kidding.
Oh,
That
that's the
was-
kind of
Yeah.
smoking you mean.
Yeah, I was
Got
thinking
it.
about it, and that is a creature comfort, right? That's one of those things, except that very bad for the spacecraft and the mission as a whole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't
No,
foresee
I'm
that
kidding.
happening.
That would never happen.
Yeah, there's not going to be a biodome system. Like, you want to go to Mars, you're going to have to give it up. You're going to have to move to like patches or some other way.
Yeah.
Nothing that's going to
Wasn't
involve
it Mark
fire.
Watney too who said that NASA has a really big problem with open flames? So
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think you're going to be able to bring not a flamethrower up to the International Space Station. Although, how cool would that be?
Dude.
I feel like that's the next ISS mission we need to test. Like, dangle your arm outside a station and just activate not a flamethrower.
That's funny.
See how it affects your trajectory. That's the experiment. That's the official.
Yeah. Oh man. But
Edibles work
Let's
longer
see.
and better anyway.
That's funny.
TBD 31, smoking, step out of the ship and 50 feet from the door.
Obviously.
We'll just blast you out the airlock.
Yurjaman says, doesn't not a flamethrower need atmospheric oxygen though? Well, I just add the oxygen into the mix.
Yeah.
All right, just bring it with you, kind of like rockets do. Would it though? Because wouldn't there be possibly oxygen bubbles
rocket
inside
dog.
of the
There'd be
of
enough.
the fuel? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much you would actually need. That's a good question. I
Hey.
think, dear NASA, we'd like to know what happens
Yes.
when you bring not a flamethrower on the space station and try to use it out. So on station it will work because you have
Well, they've
oxygen
had the
inside.
they've had the
Yes.
fire experiments before, but those were contained. The sapphire.
Yeah. I want to see what
it
happens.
would come out all like in blue bubbles. Holy crap, that would probably
Right?
look crazy.
Yeah.
It would almost look like a ray gun, but it's bubbles of fire. Right?
I think you addressed that incorrectly,
What?
Ben. It's dear Uncle Elon. Please make hypergolic not a flamethrower throwers.
No, I don't want it to be hypergolic. I want the experiment to be not a flamethrower as it is in two configurations. One, exactly as it is right now. Is there enough oxygen in the chemical makeup to actually ignite the fire? That's one. And then not a flamethrower experiment 2 is you have two bubbles, whatever the fuel source is, but then also bring your own oxygen along and inject the two and shoot it out. What does that look like? Does it turn into big blue bubbles? Like, how cool would that be? Slash, does it go back because there's nothing like right? So does that become a very, very bad thing? So I want to see all of these things. Dear Uncle Elon or Uncle NASA. For science! I feel like when we do science, like, science, there needs to be like lightning bolts that come down from the set and like all the lights flash for a second.
We'll add it in post. Like lens flare.
Oh, God. J.J. Abrams. You know, everyone knows the story. So the original Star Trek reboots, J.J. Abrams had that. I know you knew the story because you were the one who brought it up. Well, do you want to actually, since you brought it up, you want to tell the story?
Oh, okay. So one of the things that Abrams identified with the original Star Trek movies was the lens flare. Gotta admit, totally agree. So he would sit just off axis on the lenses with a high-powered flashlight, just aimed right inside the mechanics of the lens to create the flare. And that's why it was so pervasive and so constant. Instead of just having the camera slide past the light source and we get that blip of lens flare, it was the joke of the movie.
And then
lens flare.
Because he didn't add it in post, it was added on the original. They didn't use it was digital,
in the capture,
but it was on capture, which meant that you can't get rid of it, not easily at least. So he was on in some interview saying, I immediately regretted that decision.
I'm just imagining him like on set with a flashlight and like someone inevitably is like, JJ, can you come over here and like direct and put the flashlight down?
Hang on! It wasn't JJ with the flashlight, but yeah.
Some of it was.
Was it really?
Some of it was.
He's directing
also,
with the flashlight on the side? Yeah.
And also the as Kirk is plummeting toward Vulcan scene, or toward the mining platform.
Spoilers!
Guys, if you haven't seen the 2009 reboot, I can't help you there. But the way they filmed it was one of those film tricks where Chris Pine was standing on a reflective surface reflecting the blue sky, and they had the camera aimed as if it was up at him falling through sky. But to have the camera bounce, JJ had the touch, and so he would rattle the camera just enough so that it looked like the camera was jostling with the air friction as it was falling with Chris Pine. So it was sometimes actually J.J. Abrams.
That's amazing. Can you imagine me, that director of photography, be like, no, I'll go hands off. JJ, you got this.
Yep. That's some trust.
God, do you know what they shot with on that? Because like jostling the camera is not necessarily, like, can you see some of those rigs? Right? I mean, think about like an IMAX rig. What are you doing?
Are you lens flaring us?
I don't think that's going to work on this
enough.
camera. Yeah, you're going to need a high-powered.
that'll work, I guess.
So if you just back to the.
Yeah, you need to be like. Yeah, you need a much higher power.
Yeah.
Light. This is the Star Trek edition.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yay! On screen.
That's funny.
Let's see.
Sorry, I was up late the other night for reasons.
Yeah, I'm tired because I got up late because somebody didn't turn off an alarm.
So I got home, and as I got home, I was getting a phone call from the company because they needed some support on something. So, I'm talking on the car phone, kind of pull into the garage, and I'm sitting in the garage because as soon as I leave the car, it might hang up the phone call, and I'm doing some work. And so I'm sitting there. I'm there for a good 5 minutes. But I didn't realize that she had actually armed the house, the security system. So the garage door opened.
So I'm sleeping perfectly fine.
And the alarm has a 2-minute, we have like a 2-minute, like, hey, you need to disarm.
And I'm like, boop, boop, boop. What the hell is that? Boop, boop, boop. It's not going off. Boop, boop, boop. That's not my alarm. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, God, I know what that is. And I was like, I should disarm. I should make sure that that is a legit thing and make sure I am not being robbed right now. Then I had to go through the process of, well, that's my car. There is a human in that car. I'm like, how much time do I have? Okay, good, I can disarm. And then I was like, hey, P.S., fucker, I'm awake now, and I closed the garage door, so he knew that I was the one
We
who
have an electric
disarmed the
car,
house.
so she didn't put my life at risk. Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah.
Just set a little fire under the Tesla.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Amazing.
How many years has it been now?
Too many. Too many.
I was so tired.
Apparently, it's turquoise. You can look that one up.
The stone
So
No,
or the
it
color.
actually turns
not-
out it's
it's
not
not
turquoise. But that's a different story for a different time.
So I had actually gone to work the day prior and actually stayed the entire time, right?
Yeah.
So that was like, went to work in the morning and then I got home 4:30 something a.m. the next day, and then I'm like, okay, finally, get upstairs, go to bed. Phone rings again. I'm like, for Pete's sake! So had to get up again, do some stuff. So I wasn't in bed until like 5:30, I think, that morning. It was not fun.
wow.
You put me to bed and I had to wake back up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
caught
You
that.
probably figured that, yeah.
I know times.
Times.
Oh, wait, 5 a.m.? What is that in UTC?
Let's see, UTC -7
With Pacific time?
Pacific.
Pacific Daylight Time. So we're
Yeah.
Plus
Is it 7? It's 7, so it'd be noon.
Plus
noon.
8?
I think it's. Yeah, it'd be noon.
Plus
it'd be
7,
noon.
yeah.
It'd be noon. Yeah.
There you go. Metrified.
1200 UTC.
Metrified.
Waking me up at 1200 UTC. What is the matter with you?
Oy.
So Wicked is saying it's 8, but I did that in my head off of like the 1800 UTC, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I think
It's 7.
London is 8 hours ahead because when I would travel, my mom would have to call me 8 ahead. But I think Greenwich is 7. I think that's how it works.
Well, right. So Britain has
Britain, summertime.
bounces between
Yeah.
0 and +1.
Yeah.
Right. And the best part is we've had people in the chat room who are like, here's the thing, and the time is the official time in the world. And we're like, yeah, except that you changed your clocks. And UTC doesn't do that. So no, you are not currently at 0000. So yeah,
No
that was fun.
Zulu for you.
No Zulu for you. And so like it actually took like Wikipedia articles and like, no, really, if you change your clock, you're not on world standard time. So that is not atomic time. Isn't like daylight saving. Yeah, no.
Let me set my nuclear decay ahead.
Yeah, let me change back my decay by 1 hour.
Love it.
That's amazing. That's the shirt for the show.
Oh, here you go. Motham hates UTC, by the way. What's wrong with GMT?
Greenwich Mean Time got deprecated and replaced with UTC because Greenwich Mean Time did not originally account for leap seconds. And so GMT is not as accurate.
Meanwhile, Vax Hedrum says, do not get him started.
I'll
Why do
end
you
it
think
there.
I chose this one, Vax? Come on now.
You've had your coffee. Now he gets UTC.
I'll end it there. Is that GMT is not as accurate and is actually off by, right now, it's off by 17 or 18 seconds. I don't remember.
Hashtag too late. Thank you, Dutta.
Yeah, GMT is stupid and outdated. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's actually wrong by, it's 17 or 18, and it will be up to 19 seconds wrong before because our GPS satellites are actually based on, do not have leap seconds either.
Oh.
And so when you get GPS time, fun factoid, when you watch rocket launches from a certain company and you look
You
at the timestamps.
thought I was boring. Yes?
And you look at the timestamps on the screen and they're off by 17 or 18 seconds or whatever it is, it's because it's getting the time from the GPS constellation and not correcting for it. Same thing has to happen in your car. You have to actually correct for UTC and then you'll get the appropriate time. All right, I'm done.
I'm kidding. I'm just giving you
I'm done.
Eastern time, Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time.
It depends. It depends on whether the area you're in honors daylight saving time.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, what time zone are you in right now?
I believe I'm Mountain Standard Time. No. I think I am on Pacific Daylight Time.
But no,
Are you guys? You guys stopped daylight, right?
no,
you guys
no.
are out of daylight right
Here's
now?
the point. Here's the
we're
point
in
she's trying to
daylight
make.
right
Here's the
now.
point she's
We're in
trying to
daylight
make,
right
Space Mike. Hey, when's the last time you changed your clock?
We don't change our clocks here, but when daylight savings happens, when daylight savings is not in effect, here in Arizona, we're Pacific Daylight Time. And then when daylight savings is in effect, we switch over to Mountain Standard Time.
So
that our clocks
if
don't
you
have
look
to
at your
change.
clock right now, what does it say?
It is 12:50
Right, and
PM
we have 12:50.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we will change our clocks.
And then he won't.
And he won't. And that's the other thing is there are pockets inside of each time zone that will and will not, even in the U.S.,
Yep.
will and will not honor daylight saving time. So I will correct people who even
That's why I
guess on
asked
the
him
show.
what time zone he was in. That's
Right.
specifically why I said that.
I'll even get like some NASA folk who will be like, okay, so we'll meet such and such Eastern Standard Time. And I will actually be like...
in the middle of June and be like, hi, you mean daylight time, right?
Right, and I will be like, actually, I think you mean this, unless you actually mean this, because that's actually viable here. Please clarify, because they could be off by an hour, and they're always like, oh, no, I meant daylight time.
Yep.
Daylight saving is stupid and should be abolished. End statement. It doesn't save energy. It doesn't do any things it promised it to do. It's the dumbest thing ever. Stop it.
Seconded.
Yeah. Yeah, good times.
Duz actually says, just move everyone to coordinated universal time. And by the way, UTC is not universal time coordinated. It's actually coordinated universal time.
Because the French don't know how to form sentences.
It's actually a whole big thing. It's a whole big thing. But yeah, so many people think that work night shifts and crazy things when the sun comes up, it doesn't matter. Right, but humans are still generally
Circadian rhythm.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
To the sun.
Yeah.
And so I've actually put a great deal of thought into this, and I can't figure out how to realistically abolish time zones in general, because then it does actually mess with you in like really bad ways. Because then you wouldn't have any point of reference for like whether someone is in darkness or not, because it doesn't actually solve the darkness not darkness problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to deal. So time zones actually make sense. Abolish the 30-minute time zones. Those are stupid.
Yeah, Australia,
There are
what the
what
hell's
now?
up with that?
Oh,
I have never heard of this.
Yeah.
you would expect there to be how many time zones? Or
24.
24 time zones.
Yeah.
That's what makes sense.
Yeah.
There are not. There are way more than 24 time zones.
It's like 36 or 37 or something like that.
No, there should be 24 time zones equally spread out around the Earth, right? And the time zones should never make squiggly lines. Straight lines down the Earth, 24 of them. That's how many there should be.
I get following state lines.
No.
I do get that for
No.
coordinating local.
No. If we're going to do time appropriately, you cut it evenly across the Earth, and we have the technology now where you can actually figure out where you're. Anyhow.
Funny tidbit of information. My mom lives in Arizona between Nevada and Utah. The strip of the 15 that goes through like Mesquite, Nevada, up into St. George, Utah. Like her doctor's office is up in St. George. So when she has an appointment, she has to recognize what time zone the doctor's office is in. And then her brother lives just across the Nevada state line. So when they coordinate, Thanksgiving dinner, they have to coordinate what time zone that is. So she's in some sort of fluid flux between 3 different time zones. And then Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time, but Nevada does. Yeah. And it's stupid.
And it's one time zone on one side of her living room and another time zone on like the other side of the house, like, in the same room but in the kitchen. So you can see your phone like change.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Like this side of the
See,
living room.
Which
that
goes
would
to
become
point-
problematic, though.
But it already
If you're-
exists.
It exists.
So
but
you're not solving anything by doing this down state lines. You're not solving anything at all. So
So
just
stupid.
accept it's not solved. So
for
all right,
bureaucratic reasons.
sure. So the first comment is Ben is a little crazy, which yeah, I feel like a little more. The Stretcher 1701 is my favorite comment. Remember when Ben said he was done talking about time zones?
Yeah.
And the third thing I want to point, actually, there was another comment in here that says, Jazz Throat, Ben should be able to understand daylight savings time as a host of Space Show. So first off, it's daylight saving time singular, not savings.
And he
If you wanna
does,
hear-
clearly.
Waiting for you to
He knows it better than the rest of us. Crap.
It's daylight saving time. You'll notice I've said that correctly every time I've brought it up. And I do understand daylight saving time, which is how I can say it's so stupid and we shouldn't do it. And Vax Headroom aptly said, I told you not to get him started. Vax is correct.
Tickle Stuff might have solved it with its beer o'clock.
Where is that? Where is that?
Somewhere.
Oh.
Like fifth, sixth from the bottom.
There you go. There you go.
That's amazing.
Yeah, actually, this is a constant fight that I have. Well, I used to have at so Ann on YouTube says, I wish that things like launch schedules would stick to coordinated universal time all the time. I had this fight with certain people in certain different companies actually, and because everyone wants to do it in their time zone because that's what they understand. They're like, oh well, I can figure out my time zone off from like Eastern time to Pacific time. It's way easier than doing it from coordinated universal time. And then I have to show them the metrics. I'm like, look though, the viewership is mostly not from the US. It's 51+% from around the world. So how about we do it in New Zealand time instead? And like, well, I don't know that. I'm like, they don't know ours either. Zero. The offset needs to be 0. Everyone can figure out the math from 0. It's hard to figure out the math from +8 and not even knowing if you're +8. What's the New Zealand offset? No one knows. Just do coordinated universal time. Okay, I promise I'm done.
Lies.
Precisely why I brought it up.
So
by the
Ben,
way.
what's the difference between KU band and KA band?
Not much.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Frequency.
Everyone. Just kidding.
Frequency.
Thank you,
X-band,
Seki.
C-band.
Megahertz.
Seki says, by the way, New Zealand is UTC plus 12.
Cool, I didn't even get it right. I thought it was 8 for some reason. I didn't even get it right.
That's my favorite part about New Zealand. It's like, oh, you're like exactly half. That's amazing.
Hey, so speaking of New Zealand, what's the status on the Rocket Lab launch? Does anyone know? I know they were standing down for the whole window. Is that correct?
I mean, all I know is that there's one particular
so.
Rocket Lab person that's moving from New Zealand to the U.S.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We get that Rocket Lab person back.
That's cool.
Poor Ben. We just don't have. Hang on. We just don't have Ben problems, so we don't understand. It's so true. It's so. If you just need to understand me better.
Tariq says no new T0.
Yeah. No new T0. All right. Thanks, Space Mike. That's brilliant. I appreciate that.
That's so good.
Oh, Space Mike.
That's just what I imagine you doing, like after the show's over and everyone leaves. Just you, just
Personal rain cloud.
Like all of the lights in the studio are off except for the ones back here.
You got
I'm
one
just
down
alone.
Ben crying into his cup of coffee.
Death Wish coffee.
I've never tried Death Wish coffee. I'm excited for them to have espresso. I do more espresso than I do.
I'm excited for their instant.
Jeff is
That
going to get a
sounds cool.
frickin' earful from me, poor thing. Like, no, really. When I said we were going to talk later, I really meant it. Not only do I want Death Wish espresso, I want Death Wish to continue to pursue the instant because there's a product where I work that I think is crap. It's simulated espresso, and so they look like little creamers, but they're black because they're espresso. And so you take that and you dump it into whatever drink that you have, and that's totally fine. Except what I want is I would prefer to have the instant ones. So then if you want to just have the instant, you can literally grab it, go. That's fine. You add as much water or as little water as you want. Or if you have a regular whatever, latte, drip coffee, would be an additive. It'll dissolve in anything. You can have Death Wish matcha, like the whole thing. Like you can put it into anything. It would be awesome. That's really what I want. And so I'm like, hi, we need to talk.
So as a non-coffee drinker, when
Is
you
that
said
stock shots that
simulated
you guys use?
espresso, I just pictured somebody handing you a little cup and then punching you in the face.
I mean, it's sort of like that. They do actually say on them, like, no more than 2 a day. So,
Yeah, those are stock shots, right? STOK?
yeah, stoke, but yes.
Oh, stoke.
Stoke, because you're going to stoke the fire. Because, well, there's a line over the O. It's a long O.
Got it. Yeah, it's got one of those fancy accent things.
And yeah, I hate them. They're
Welcome
gross.
to the United
There's
States,
accent marks
everyone.
on them.
It's
It's a
got one of them
pronunciation
fancy
key.
accent
The only
things.
the only person on the show that can pronounce the actual name for Comet 67P
Share your
is
boss
saying little accent thing.
I know.
Jeez, Mike.
Right. Our accent guy.
So, Space Mike, I have you in studio doing Capcom next week. Are you okay to travel out here?
Definitely ask him on air.
Yes. However,
We can have this conversation off air if we need to.
Space Fest. Next week is also Space Fest, and Dwight Stephen Boniecki has invited one of us to come out because he wants to, give us.
When he says one of us, he means Mike. I mean,
he did reach out to me just because I'm closest. I mean, it's just a couple hours drive from where I am to where they're having the
Do you want
conference.
to do it from there then?
That's what I was wondering. Like, should I head out to there, or do you still want me to come out to the studio?
I feel like Space
I'm fine
Fest
with
is
either, but I think that would be cool.
Yeah, no, I feel like you can always come out to the studio. Space Fest is a one-off thing, so we should do Space Fest. I would always prefer to do the one-off weird things as opposed to the things that we can do anytime. So yeah, why don't you head out there? Are you okay Capcoming from out there? I mean, there'll be a little bit of weird delay, but I think we're still okay. Yes.
Didn't we do that before?
Yeah, we've done that before.
I feel like we've tried that before.
It's slightly
so, yeah,
awkward, but it works.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you use it, I don't mind doing that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Let's see. There was something else that I wanted to bring up too. Oh yeah, is our guest confirmed for July 28th?
can I see?
I don't want to say who it is.
I believe so. Yes, I believe that's a confirmed guest. 11:30. Why?
I thought so.
I'm assuming that they're going
Hang
to
on
be.
1 second. July 28th. Is that one of yours?
I'm assuming that they'll be Skyping in for that one.
No.
No.
I think that's Doge.
Oh, that's a Lisa guest.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get you more information. We get a miniature human on this side of the Upside Down Friday or Saturday or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So we'll be able to confirm that. I'll get a little better.
Friday.
I can say that the guest for 8-4 is very soft. That's not a hard guest.
Oh, the four. Yeah,
Okay.
8-4, yeah.
that's a Lisa guest.
Yeah, that's definitely a Lisa guest. All right,
Although
anyway.
once we're off air, we should tell Mike that story.
Oh, yeah, we should. We should tell that story on air. Oh, we probably can't.
That's why I just said.
Well, I meant after the.
Sure, after the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all.
Cool.
Speaking in code, the internet loves it when we do that.
Yeah, I know.
So is the guest a plush toy. Lurr.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. We're bringing on sock puppets.
Neutrino plushies.
Wow. So good. Are we done?
Yeah, I think. Are we winding down? All right. So,
It's a
Space Mike,
tardigrade puppet show.
do you need anything from me for your thing next week? Or are you all right? You can ask me in email. Just email
Yeah, I'll
me
let
if
you
need
know if I
something.
need anything. I should be all right, but I'll let you know. Although one other thing that I did need to go over is I am not going to be available for the 14th.
Okay. Can you add yourself to the non-availability and rundown creator, or not in the cast and cruise? Blah, blah, blah. Are you familiar with how to do that?
No, what option do I select to do that?
Okay, so hello everyone. You're gonna watch some behind-the-scenes making of things and stuff. All right, so in Drive, go to the cast and crew schedule. You're
Yeah,
there?
I'm there right now.
All right, on the bottom there are the tabs. You've got the cast availability dates.
Excel.
I can see you in there right now. So yep, drop down your name, and then select a date. I think there's a date poppy-uppy thingy that occurs. Boop. There you go. That's it.
Date
And
poppy uppy thingy only happens on.
the date on unavailable dates, right?
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't poppy uppy thingy for me. Oh, there it does. Never mind.
Yeah.
I just typed it in, so
Sure. That you should be fine. So now
Technical jargon.
7:14.
Leave us all behind.
now it shows me as red for
Yep.
7:14.
Perfect.
Aha.
So MS2. So
Okay.
I'll bring in.
Let's see, we have Sarah, Lisa, and Ben, so maybe Athena or Jade if either are available. Oh yeah, and Jared is commander for that show, so.
I can do that if I have to.
MS2.
You
That
make
would
it
be
sound like
great.
I've
I haven't
never
heard
done a news
story. I
item
haven't heard a
before.
news story from
I know.
Carrie Ann
I-
since like early Orbit 10?
I know that
Orbit
you
9
don't
maybe?
like doing it, so I try not to make you do it.
I just said I could do it.
All right. Let's see here.
I wouldn't offer myself up if you.
Well, I've got Jay. Sarah's
If you
on the
prefer
show.
other options, that's totally
Sarah,
fine with me.
Lisa.
So you're looking at Jade or Athena.
I'm trying to. I've got.
Do you understand the most rare thing that Karen just offered to be available for something
But-
other than what?
I know, but I won't be able to work her media for that. So, no. Athena. Let's see here. Athena's doing. So I like to.
Tickle stuff, that's funny. Oh, she said, it's totally fine. Run!
It's fine.
No, Destructor 1701, it's totally...
Yeah.
No. It
Right.
really...
It's a trap.
I'm glad
It's a
that the
trap.
internet is picking that. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one. We'll do. We haven't done.
It really is fine. I don't care.
I don't care. The other magic word.
Yeah. Sarah, Lisa.
No.
Let's do
First of
Athena.
all, seriously, I hate you all. You know exactly how I am. Wow. All right.
Athena, Lisa,
Cool.
Mike, Jared. Yeah, that keeps the cat Mike space back.
boy.
Yeah, that works. That works.
I got you, Karen.
Cool.
Protest too much. It really does not bother me.
All right.
It bothers me more than somebody would insinuate that it bothers me.
Galactic MD, I am going to a family thing and also a fun event.
It's an Illuminati meeting. It's the yearly sacrifice. Right.
Love it. Have fun, Mike.
Thank you. I just hope I'm not going to be the victim this time.
Fingers crossed, man.
If y'all don't hear from me again, I was sacrificed to Molech, so it's all
Copy.
good.
But it was your pleasure, though.
Yes. Yeah,
Born to serve.
There was consent involved.
Exactly. That's funny.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you, Vax.
But
All right.
let's see. After that, I think that's the only thing I needed to bring up for now.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So now so schedule makes sense. Add in any dates that you're not available. Blah blah blah. And then I'm using notes to figure out when we should bring you here. So just kind of always look at the notes area of the thing. Generally speaking, though, I'm going to bring you in for roundtables. I think. But you're not available for that one, so boom, there you go. All right, cool. On that note, I think we'd be done, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. It was a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I'm excited for Gateway Foundation on next week's show. So we'll see you next week.
Oh, one more thing I wanted to say, Sarah.
Back from
Sarah.
black. All right.
Sarah,
Me?
Sarah.
What?
your reports are getting much better, and you're getting a lot more comfortable on camera. You're doing a great job. Just wanted to say that.
What he was trying to say is you used to be terrible.
Yeah, that's how I took it. Yeah. Dick.
You used to be terrible, and now you're only slightly less terrible.
Sweet.
That was my takeaway. So thanks, Mike.
Leaving horrific in the
Never
back
paying a compliment
window.
around Negu Gassels again. You're welcome.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.